Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Cool Chiefs episode. And today we are furthering the conversation on women reinventing themselves in midlife. And I have Katey with me today, and she is a life coach. And this is going to be kind of an interesting angle because a lot of the women I talk to talk about wanting to do something different and shaking it up once their kids are launched, or, they want to do something different. And today, if one of the things that you're considering in the whole reinvention second act thing has anything to do with being an athlete or doing a race, in particular, everyone hears about triathlons and triathletes. Well, lucky for us, Katey's here today, and she's going to tell us the 5 questions we really should be asking ourselves before we decide that that's the path for sort of shaking up midlife. But before we do that, I want to introduce myself in case you haven't seen one of these Cool Chief episodes before. I'm Jack Perez, and I'm the CEO and founder of Kuel Life. Kuel Life is spelled all cattywampus with a K, Kuellife. It's an online platform and a curated shopping experience for women in midlife. So us women in second act, who we're talking about today. But I encourage you to go out and check out the Kuel Life site and the Kuel shop. All of the products on the shop are curated by me personally, and they are by women-owned businesses. So purchasing with a purpose. They're products made by women for women. Okay, so that being said, Katey, would you do me the favor and introduce yourself to the Kuel Life audience before we jump into the meat of triathlons?
Sure, absolutely. My name is Katey Collins, and as you said, I'm a life coach. My business is Tri Life Coach, and I'm actually a mom myself. I'm married. I have a son and a daughter, and I consider myself a lifelong athlete. And I have an extensive history of education and training in the mental health field.
Great. So I know that you're not our demographic because you look super, super young, but you work with women who are in this situation, right, where they're redefining themselves, they're taking on new challenges in midlife. They come to you because, tell us a little bit about why they come to you, and if a woman is considering doing this, what they should be asking themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times women come to me when they're at a place in their life where they feel like they have so many responsibilities and they're being pulled in a lot of different directions, and they just a lot of times feel like time has gotten away from them and they really don't have any control of their time. And so they just somehow end up at this place where they feel like you said, I need to redefine myself. Who am I? Like, I don't even recognize this person in the mirror anymore. And so it's time for me to make a change, and I'm ready and I'm excited and I need a new adventure, and I need to prioritize myself and make myself a priority again. And so I really get excited about helping women maximize their time, improve their relationships. Sometimes we get to this point in our life where we feel like our significant others or those in our life, maybe we don't have those strong connections with anymore. Maybe that intimacy has been lost. And so I support women in that journey. But really the vehicle for doing all of that I like to use is a particular race. And so it could be a triathlon, it could be a 5K run, a marathon, a half marathon, an open water swim, any of those. And really, so we look forward to a race. And during that process of getting ready and preparing for that race, we're going through a lot of different topics and addressing issues that really women are facing at this point in their life.
So if I was going to consider a race as sort of a second act, shaking it up, what are some of the questions that I should be asking? I mean, what are the questions that we women should be asking ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, you want to know medically, is it something that's realistic for you? If you have significant medical complications that would prevent you from doing this, I'm not saying it's not possible. However, you just may want to proceed with the correct support, like a physical therapist or your doctor on board. So that's probably the number one thing to be asking yourself.
So is that just going to the doctor and telling your doctor what your plan is, and then having he or she say, yes, you're fine, or B, you're okay, but these are the caveats, or?
Sure. Yeah. And so I guess you could certainly do that. Sometimes there are some doctors that aren't quite familiar with the sport and may not really understand what's all entailed in it. Some are quite knowledgeable with triathlon, though. I would say more so if you have like a significant condition like diabetes, or, that's kind of what I'm referring to.
Okay.
If you're generally a healthy person, you exercise, you go to the gym on a somewhat regular basis, you can walk a mile without collapsing, that's okay. Kind of what I mean.
Hi, Kitty. Yes, that's my mascot, and she just does whatever she wants.
Right.
Okay, so first is, are we healthy enough? Then
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's say that the answer is yes. So then what are the other questions that we should be asking ourselves?
Sure. So if you're looking at triathlon specifically, the swim portion, I would say, is the most crucial to consider. Yeah. A lot of times I've run into athletes that maybe will try swimming in a pool a few times, and they feel like, oh, I'm good to go. Like I can do 2 laps, and then they get out in the lake in the open water, and it's a nightmare. Like it can be really scary.
So maybe you want to take a pause for just a second, because I think we're going with the assumption that everyone here knows what a triathlon is. So maybe we just take a quick 30-second pause and tell us what a triathlon is.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And so the triathlon is a swim, bike, run event. So there's all 3 of those disciplines in the same race. And there's a lot of different distances. So you can start with a very short version of a triathlon, which might be something like an 8-mile swim. Maybe the bike is only 8 miles and the run is 1 mile. But then they have all different distances that ratchet up to like a full-blown Ironman. And a full Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and a full marathon, 26.2 mile run altogether. Okay. So there's lots of different distances.
So it sounds like you could run the gamut. I mean, like from a beginner, very sort of, okay, let's check the box that I did one of these, to a full Ironman. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now that we know that, so you were talking about swimming in a pool versus an open water swim.
Right. And they do have some triathlons that are indoor. They're not as common, but most of them are outdoor. So you just want to make sure you have the right training and support, and to ensure that you complete the swim in a safe way. Because on the bike and on the run, honestly, you can just stop and you can walk, or you can just sit down if you want. That's not the case in the water. So
right. And also, I know that I don't like open water swimming. I mean, that's been one of the reasons I've never done it. I've done triathlons in quote training, meaning at the gym, swim a couple miles, do the bike, and then get on the treadmill. But that whole, I've tried open water swimming, and for me, it makes me too panicky. So
right, and it does affect a lot of people that way. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so make sure you can swim in a lake or a place where where it's murky, or you're swallowing ocean water, right? Because sometimes it's an ocean too.
Yes.
And you're surrounded by people too, which can really be anxiety provoking. So,
right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got make sure you're healthy, make sure you can do an open water swim. What else you got on that list?
All right. So unfortunately, finances do play a role in this, because it has become a really popular sport. And over the years, the cost of the events has gone up quite a bit. And so you can keep it cost effective, if you say can borrow a wetsuit from somebody, or if you have a bike already, or if you know somebody, you could use their bike or whatnot. But it is a somewhat costly sport. So you might have to budget for that and keep that in mind.
Yeah, that makes sense, because those bikes can be thousands of dollars, just the bike, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to want to look cute, so you're going to want a cute outfit.
Right. Yeah, some people.
I'm teasing. Okay, so budgeting for it. That's important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And then being sure you're willing to commit to the training schedule. And so what I like to do is I like to schedule an event far in advance because that helps give me structure. And I know that if I have this on the calendar on this date, that I will be diligent and consistent in my weeks in my training. So, there might be a morning I feel like, yeah, I don't want to get out of bed. I can't do this. I'm too tired. But if I know my training buddy is meeting me at the pool and I'm not sick or anything, and I have this on my calendar, I'm much more likely to follow through. And ultimately, the whole idea of this is that improves your physical health. It improves your mental health.
So tell us specifically, how many months in advance should you put a race on the calendar? How many months do you need? Let's assume that you're starting at close to zero, meaning, you're not a trained athlete already.
Yeah.
So you need like the full, you would need to go from like 0 to 100 or whatever that is.
Sure.
How many months should you look ahead?
Yeah. So assuming you're going to do a short, like a sprint or a super sprint.
We're not assuming an Ironman because we're assuming like this is just something that you want to try because you've heard about it and you want to kind of say you've done one. So
I would say at least give yourself 6 months.
Okay.
I know that might seem like a long time, but even if you have a year, just, to start doing some research, learning about it, finding out where are some training groups that you could meet up with. Do they jive with your schedule? Start getting familiar with the community. Yeah.
Great. All right. So you say you have 2 more questions that you need to address. So what are those? And ladies, if you have any other questions about trying to do a triathlon or trying to do an athletic event, you can put them in the comments and Katey and I'll circle back around and make sure we address them, and or I can bring back Katey and we can do a subsequent show where we talk about whatever those topics are. So don't hesitate to tell us what you're thinking and, if you're considering doing one of these, what your concerns are, and we're happy to address them. So Katey has 2 more questions that we should be addressing or asking ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So will your loved ones support you? This one is really critical because a lot of times it can really take up a big chunk of your time. And so if all of a sudden, you're gone from your family or you're late for work multiple days, you need to just kind of factor that into your schedule and make sure that you plan accordingly and that those who are around you are willing to support you and they're on board with this plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be?
Yeah. Do you enjoy being outside? And, I know you had mentioned you enjoy being inside the gym doing those types, and they definitely have inside ones. Most of them, as I mentioned, are outside. So if you really can see yourself being out in the elements, even if it's a really hot day or if it's pouring rain or if it's cold, because a lot of times on race day, you have no idea what the conditions are going to be.
Right.
So yeah, you have to be willing to kind of challenge yourself and push yourself in that realm as far as the weather goes.
Okay. Well, those are really great. I mean, they almost seem simplistic in a way. Right. But if you can't answer those, and you could get yourself into a lot of trouble because it is a commitment. Right. And that race day, the race itself goes by pretty fast, but if you're not, prepared, you could, it could be really a miserable experience, and or you could end up getting hurt or sick if you're not prepared. So it's important.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Deb, you said you had something to offer the Kuel Life community, the viewers, that they could download. Can you tell us a little bit about what your...
Yeah. So I do have a free download that you can have access to, and I call it your fitness, relationship, and confidence stopwatch. So this stopwatch is really just a quick little assessment. It's about 20 questions, right? But it really goes through and it helps you understand if there are certain areas of your life that perhaps are more concerning than others that you might just want to take another look at and really kind of reevaluate and ask some questions.
Okay, well, We're going to put the URL where you can download this stopwatch, which might be a really good place to start if you're looking for something to like looking for that next reinvention and you're considering, a race. That'd be great. And when, just to be clear, that when you download, you'll subscribe to Katey's email list and also Cool Life's email list if you're not already on the subscription, which you should be if you're watching this. But yeah, and like I said, we'll put the URL at the bottom. And if you have any other questions or concerns, please put them in the comments. We can circle back around. And Katey, this has been really wonderful. I mean, like I said, it's kind of simple, but just make sure you're healthy enough. Make sure that you can handle sort of an outdoor open water swim, because that really can be anxiety provoking. Sit the fam down and tell them, here's what I'm doing. Can I get everyone on board? And then the last two were, oh my God, I almost forgot. Oh, you have to like being outside.
Yeah.
You don't like being outside, you're in big trouble.
Right. Yeah. And I will say, I met so many people over the years that have overcome tremendous barriers to train and complete something like this. So it can be done. You just need to make sure you have the right support lined up for you.
Yes. And it sounds like, even getting a coach to help you through the process wouldn't be a bad thing too, if you can afford it. And that was actually the other one. You got to make sure that you can budget for it. But, if it's important enough, we figure it out, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, Katey, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah,
and I hope to bring you on at some other point in time. There's lots of things to address as we age on, turning into an athlete or becoming an athlete, and it's never too late. So
absolutely. Thank you.
I will talk to you soon. Thank you, Katey.
All right. Thank you.